What is going on, everybody? It is Jordan Espeseth, your host of our podcast here today, and I'm excited about this one. It's going to be a little bit unique. It's just me and the co-owner of Tarrant Real Producers, my man Lance Donahoe, and we're going to talk about something pretty cool today, and more in the realm of entrepreneurship and what really creates a happy life, a successful business, finance, all that stuff. It's going to be cool. It's going to be exciting. You're going to learn from two guys that have done it themselves. So tune in right now. Mr. Lance Donahoe.
Mr. Jordan Espeseth.
What's going on, man?
Man, just really kind of taking in this last week of Thanksgiving. I'm still kind of reveling in the whole experience of family and reflection and all that, man. It's an interesting time of year, isn't it?
I've talked to a lot of people that are not feeling well, and I wonder if it's an overabundance of food, too much maybe alcohol for some people, maybe too much family for some people, but people
yes. Wait.
yes, and people seem to be dogging it this week. So the post-Thanksgiving turkey blues, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's something to that, and it's also just that time of year you're thinking about of course, now we're thinking about Christmas, but you're thinking about the next year and all your plans, and you're thinking about that far off horizon and reflecting back on, where you are. It's a great, beautiful time, but you do have to manage your energy and your resources, or you can kind of get pulled down into those turkey blues, I guess.
I woke up this morning and I was like, I forgot about one of the to-do lists that's very important this year, and that is getting gifts for people. I was like, oh yeah, let me just add that to the whole to-do list, right? So, well, hey, before we kind of hop in, I'm excited. I want to give a little shout out to the difference, but before we, so we're gonna hop in. I'm excited about what we're gonna talk about. We have some cool things. We probably should do a little minor debrief on the ESPYs as well, but. But just again, want to give a big shout out to Lendon and the difference. They're the ones that really power our podcast. And for those of you that don't know, they provide video branding and digital business solutions for small business owners and entrepreneurs locally and even statewide. And with over 600,000 viewers in 2020, the difference can help any business grow their brand awareness and develop a message that really humanizes your brand in a way that allows you to expand your brand, your connections, your relationships, increase your influence and relevance, and to quickly help you become known as a power player and a mover and shaker in your sphere, community, industry, and the business world. And so thank you, Lendon. Thank you, The Difference, for powering our podcast. We love working with you, and he has a great setup. So anyone interested, be sure to reach out to us. We can get you connected with Lendon. But
yeah, Jordan, and I would even add, I think, in 2021, he's up to 750,000 now. So really, you just see the power of what Lendon's doing. And I'm sure we're going to have Lendon on, and because he's always a great contributor to these conversations, particularly these that are going to be, I think, a little bit more personal and some of the struggles that we might experience and successes that we experience as entrepreneurs. So.
Yeah, totally. Well, we'll probably, Len, I know you're back there. We'll probably cue you in at some point, or just chime in whenever I know you talk to a lot of successful people, and that's what really the difference is all about. And Lance kind of wanted to hone in on that a little bit. And so sounds like I need to update my difference facts and stats. So congrats to you, Lendon, for the continual growth, man. That's awesome. But yeah, so, man, I don't think we need to do the whole plug on Real Producers. Y'all know what we do. We're a community. We do events. We do a monthly publication for currently the top 1,500 producing real estate agents in DFW. And it's been a super fun ride. We get to hear their stories. The businesses that work with us have all come recommended by the highest producing real estate agents in the market. There are real producers, vetted business partners. So we truly have the best agents, best businesses that encompass DFW real producers. And I fully own 2 of those. I co-own one of them with my man Lance. And so we were talking this morning though about kind of what we wanted to talk about on this show, and it ties very well in with what really the difference is about, what Real Producers is about, what Lance and I stand for, what these successful agents and businesses stand for. And it's really, we want to talk really about, how did we word it, Lance? I mean, we want to talk about essentially like creating a successful, not just a successful business, but an expression of you as a human being. And so I'll kick it off and I'll let you but we were looking up some different quotes in regards to what we were talking about today. And there's one by Howard Thurman that really kind of sang to us. And it was, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is more people who have came alive. And I think it's a pretty great quote.
Yeah, what we were talking about, and it's just something that I am always so impressed, but it just seems to be this theme when I sit down with top agents and top business owners, the ones that are truly successful, it seems to me, and when I say successful, that of course, everybody has a different definition of success. But what I see is that somebody has that ever elusive, work-life balance thing somehow, but the ones that are doing it that I admire and that I want to be like are the ones that have made their business, whether that be real estate or whatever, truly an expression of themselves. And so they are so authentic and they are so in the moment with what they do that they just naturally attract people, because people are tired of the cookie cutter, right? We've all seen the formula for success. We've got the books, we've got all that. What you love is when you see somebody that found that unique way to do it. They broke the system, they broke the mold and made it their own, and it's authentic, and that's what's so powerful. And I just admire it, and I think when we pursue those things genuinely, just kind of like the quote you were saying, it is a powerful combination. It's what everybody ultimately wants. When they think of being an entrepreneur and what quote freedom, what they're saying is they think it's financial, whatever, but I think it's really about a freedom of expression. It's somehow finding that thing that makes you feel like you are being you and are doing you powerfully.
Well, I think when we were talking too, I mean, there's people that reach out to me and ask about, one just recently, and I love that people reach out to me about this, but asking like, wait, what business should I start? Like, what should I do? Like, and I don't think it's a matter of, and my response always back is kind of like, well, what do you like? What are you passionate about? Like what would be an outward expression of you? And it doesn't matter like what that thing is. You could literally be a real estate agent, and you can make that you could make that like that business. It's like an outward expression of you. You're an artist in that capacity. And I think what people end up doing too often is they think like, okay, well, there's a need for that out there. It's not really my favorite thing to do, but it looks like there's really a good need for it. So I'm just going to go do it and put all my time and money and energy to that. And they, like that quote says, they're just looking for something else that maybe the world needs, or they think the world needs. But if we truly look in and we try to create something that is an outward expression of us, there's the word that we were kind of talking about earlier is this level of authenticity to what we're creating. And when people can smell authenticity from a million miles away, and they can smell when people are not being genuine in what they do. And when people are authentic, people are magnetized to people who are authentic.
Yeah.
And that will relate into not only like financial success, but also just, if you're doing something that's an outward expression of you, you're going to be passionate about that. You're going to be excited about that. You're going to feel good about that. And I think too many people try to think of what the world wants, what the world needs, and what the world deems to be, successful. And it's like, no, like what the world needs is for us to like listen to our own self and then go find a way to express that in your own entrepreneurial, artistic way.
Yeah. We were talking, I was watching on Netflix, there's an Alanis Morissette documentary right now that really it talks about that they were trying to get her to fit the mold, to follow the formula, and she just did her thing, and it was so authentic, and it was she's I think the number 2 selling female artist in the world ever, and it was just her authenticity. And I mean, she talked about all her struggles and everything, but that fact that through that she kept her identity, and that's what people wanted. People were attracted to that. She didn't go by what the world was telling her they needed. It was what she needed to do to express that. And I loved how you said that, because it can be, whether you're, there is an art to it. So there's an artistic quality to that. It's self-expression. So think about in Dallas, Fort Worth, the surrounding areas, there are 60,000 realtors. How do you do it differently than somebody else? And it's just, you do it your way. You can follow the formulas, but like I loved our feature recently of Haley Howard in the Tarrant Real Producer. And it was just, she has just this beautiful way of connecting with people. She's not a systems and processes. She doesn't wake up and follow, the kind of the tried and true formula of 2 hours of lead gen and, all the things that have been taught to be that formula for success and it being a numbers game. This time of year, she drives around her neighborhood with a big siren on her car and gives out pies and calls it her pie patrol. And she connects with people in the neighborhood and she gets, 10 listings a year doing that just by being her authentic self, because she doesn't want to sell. She wants to connect with people. And I think that's it too. When you're in that moment, when you're genuine and you're authentic, you're not selling. You're just being you, and people are they get interested. So it's cool. I'd love to, if I can, do a plug, Jordan.
Sure.
Just because you've got a very recent experience with this, with your venture Poo Brew, which is such an expression of you that a lot of people don't know, but and I know, we try and be careful with these things because we're all entrepreneurs, and in our real producer mode, we want to be respectful of that. We're very focused on real producers, but we are entrepreneurs at heart. And there are ways that we artistically express ourselves. And with you, with Poo Brew, I would love for you to just kind of quickly share that story, because I know it came out of just a moment of being present and being aware and being authentic, that was born into something that already has launched into something pretty successful.
Well, I will. Yeah. And I'll grab a bag here in a second to put it on display, but is that what you're drinking right now? You got yourself a little,
I'm actually drinking lemon ginger tea.
Some tea,
but
got it. You already had your Poo Brew coffee.
You gotta be careful. Yeah. So much caffeine.
Exactly. Well, as we talk about authenticity, like not only can other people feel it, they know it, but like I think one of the biggest things too is like ourselves. Like prior to getting into Real Producers, I didn't find anything yet that was really authentic to myself, and so I was living more in a state of anxiety and like worry and like uncomfortability, and you just don't feel like you're living in the flow in any way, like something's off, and that's because you're probably putting your energy into something that's not you. And I was hyper tuned and hyper aware of that. And if people look at Real Producers, or they look at Poo Brew, which we'll talk a little about, but they'll see that it's very much an outward expression of like what my personality is. And when I found like Real Producers, it allowed me to like express that I'm a lighthearted guy that likes to like have fun and I don't take life too seriously, and I love to collaborate with people, and there's no scarcity, there's abundance, there's collaboration, and like all these things that like are in my own DNA are like expressed within Real Producers. And as I started launching it, it felt so right to me, and people say it to me too. They're like, man, you were like born for this role. And like it's right place, right time. Like I was just blessed to like have Real Producers fall into my lap in that capacity. And then I was able to lean into it and really breathe my own life into it. And so when people look at Real Producers, they're going to see an expression of Jordan. Mm-hmm. And then just this last year as an entrepreneur, we need to be listening to sources of inspiration. I think we were talking about that, Lance, like a lot of people, they're looking for that idea. They're looking for that thing. And I think a lot of us get it all the time, but we just we squander it with our own negative thinking, with our own doubts, with our own self-imposed limitations, right? We get this idea to start a coffee company and we get excited about it. And we're like, how cool would that be? But then we live in that excitement for 5 minutes. And then we think about, yeah, but that's going to cost money. And then there's time. And then I probably wouldn't succeed anyways. And then all of a sudden that gigantic surge of inspo that we get, we just totally crash it down with our own thoughts and our own limitations. And people just, then they're always wondering through their life, well, they never take the leap on something and they never feel like they had the idea. Well, I guarantee you, people, whoever's listening to this, they look back at their life. There's moments where we had really ideas that were we just came alive with them, but we shut them down because of those, of our own self-imposed limitations. And there's a few people in this world that get those. And I'm not saying don't act on every single inspo that we get, but we should act on some of them and give it a try. And those that do act on those inspirations, I feel like the ones that, end up having the success that a lot of us wish we had. And so Pubro came in and definitely a source of inspiration, which let me grab that bag real quick. So here it is, Poo Brew Coffee in the flesh.
Those cute little beans.
Look at those cute little beans. Exactly. Anyone ever notice that a coffee bean kind of looks like a butt? we accentuated the booty on our bean when we launched this, and so. But it's funny. It's a funny. So when we look at real producers, when we look at Poo Brew, if I explain it in 2 seconds, it's a humor-based coffee brand that acknowledges the fact that coffee makes you poo. We all know it does. We believe that laughter and honesty are truly some of the best medicine, and we are a company that supports financially. Also with just the conversations that we're having and the awareness of mental health. I'm someone that myself, a lot of you know, that dealt with a lot of mental health struggles, especially in college when I was not living in my lane. And I used humor all the time as a way to help alleviate some of the struggles that I was having. And so, literally that is the perfect expression of Jordan right there. Someone who's just kind of quirky, always doing weird nicknames and stuff like that. Kind of a crude joking personality and that is passionate about something that, I had to deal with myself and supporting it in a unique way. That's maybe not, people typically don't think of laughter and mental health struggles in the same conversation, but
and coffee and pooing
and coffee and pooing. But we do, man. What we believe.
Here we go, laughing as we say it.
Yeah. I mean, mental health is a real struggle, and what better way to we know it sucks. We know it's a crappy deal, but let's grab a cup of coffee and let's open up about it. And we're just kind of trying to change the way that people have conversations around mental health so that people feel more comfortable just opening up about it.
Yeah.
Talking about coffee is not a super and comfortable conversation, but let's make it more comfortable. And let's make having conversations about mental health more comfortable as well, because man, we know that it's one of the most pressing problems in the world right now. And so going back to, being authentic to yourself, that could not be more authentic than who I am.
Right.
And so we're excited, man. We launched it on Sunday, and it's going to be a fun thing for sure.
Well, I love it. We were talking about, and part of mental health too. I know for me, one of the things that I struggle with is being present in the moment, because I'm always out there. And so I'm thinking ahead, planning, and then I miss the moment. And it's usually with the people that I love the most, my wife and my kids. And all the
Yeah.
stuff. Linda and I were talking about this before the podcast even, and it's just something I have to be so careful to plan to be present. I have to have reserves of
Mm-hmm.
energy. Energy's like water, and you can run out of it. And so you got to keep some for the right people. But what and when you do have those moments of being present and awareness, it's amazing the things that you pick up on that other people may walk past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like how this was born, uh, there's a million people that ever going, oh, of course,
Yeah.
of course, and but you had that moment, when you were with some friends, you were in a great place where suddenly this struck you as not only just a funny thing, but a great idea that
Mm-hmm.
that you could take. But I think it was because you were present in that moment. You could probably just take us back to that exact moment, couldn't you?
Well, and so people wonder how businesses start, and I believe that Poo Brew Coffee will actually be a very successful company. And I'm sure if you look back at all these people that have started successful companies, it is. I mean, it was a moment for me. It was really just, you know, I was sitting in a coffee shop at Starbucks. We were at Starbucks in Bismarck, North Dakota. It was like 6 a.m. and I was with a buddy and we're waiting for coffee. And all he said was, "All this, this is how a business starts." He said, "Oh man, I have to poo." And I said, "Well, wait till you get your coffee. You'll have yourself a good old poo brew." And that's it. I literally thought about it for a second. I was like, "Poo brew coffee." I was like, everybody knows that coffee makes you poo. And it took me a couple days. I stewed on the idea. I looked up to see if there were trademarks, if there were websites, the domain was taken, if there were the Instagram handles and social media handles, and it wasn't. And a couple days later, I formed the LLC. That, you know what I mean? Like that's, but it would have been so easy to go past that and just think it was what a funny thing, and then
Yeah.
just go on and go play softball and move. But so when that's what we're talking about, when you get a moment that just kind of like, you're like, holy smokes, like that's actually a really good, fun idea. And it's true to me. And I think people might like it too. Like that's where we just need to lean in and just start playing with the idea. Just start playing with it. And I think a lot of people, they get too caught up in, because there's so many things that you have to do when you start a business, but they get too caught up in all that and then they don't do it. And I think like it doesn't need to be perfect. Like there's so many things right now with Poo Brew that we're like, we would love to change on the bag. We'd even love to change for the website. There's like things, there's all of the different content that we put out, like of course, but like those are the things that typically stop people from it, because I think they need to be perfect before they like go live and I'm guilty of that to a certain extent too, but I think it's just a matter of like getting that inspo and then leaning into it just a little bit more and seeing where that next step takes you, and then just kind of keep leaning in, maybe a little bit more, a little bit more.
Well, and your background too, Jordan. Of course, just even, we talked about your growing up snowmobile racing, and then of course just in sales, and then launching Real Producer here. You've had many, many successes, but many failures, getting so close, and all the lessons that you learned along the way that made you comfortable with taking a risk and being willing to fail forward, right? So there's a bit of that gives you that confidence too. And I think that's part of where a lot of people, they're just afraid to fail. And if you're afraid to fail, you need to go get a job.
Yeah.
Because and I don't mean that in a count or any way that would be insulting to anybody. But the reality of it is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, get ready to fail a lot. And because that's just the key to it. And, of course, there's the old stories about Edison and light bulbs and how many he made before he, found the right formula, and it's just that. And you'll know, in a couple of years, we'll know if Poo Brew is a success, and we may be looking back, relishing, wow, this is great. Or we may look back and go, wow, that turned into something else. But I know there will always be that, that energy and drive with you that's just not afraid to fail. And I think that's such a key to your success. Go ahead.
Well, I think you mentioned like if you're afraid to fail, then go get a job. And maybe that sounds harsh, but I think someone said choose your hard. Like to choose your hard is it, because being a 9 to 5 for most people, it's hard. Like it's not, unless people love it too. But like, so if that's hard for you, like, and you don't like it, and for me, that was like prison. It didn't sit well with my DNA. Then go be an entrepreneur. But understand that's going to be hard, and it's going to be difficult in a different way. It's going to be very rewarding, but you're going to have the roller coaster ride of your life. So choose it. You know what I mean? Like you have to choose what your heart is going to be. And I think I saw someone write the other day. They said it was like they said something about, they took a picture of they're at work. They work a 9 to 5 job. They took a picture of what like the boss put on the wall. It said like all requests for time off will be like, for holiday time off will be like rejected or something like that. Like we will not be accepting these requests or something. And the guy's like, there was a comment that said, like, it's like, I'm not requesting, like, this is my life. I do what I want with my time. And if I want time off, then you have to, and I was thinking like, I feel that, but unfortunately, like if you're employed, like you don't have that luxury. In most cases, you don't have that luxury. And all I was thinking to myself was, if that bothers you so much, which it bothers me to have someone tell me that I need to request time off and be very limited on that, then I think you need to choose your hard. That's hard. That sucks. But so does being an entrepreneur. But guess what? I don't have to ask someone for time off, but I'm always on too.
Yeah, exactly. So, time off? What's that?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think choosing people's hard is really important, because people will whine about having a 9 to 5. Well, people will whine about being an entrepreneur. Well, you got to choose it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it, man. What's good stuff?
We were talking about you. Because obviously Real Producers is not your first gig. It's not your only thing. You run a successful inspection company, and we were talking too, like, it's not like you're mad at passionate about inspections, but that's the cool thing too. Like, it doesn't, like, it's the expression of your brand. I'm not overly passionate about the specifics of coffee, but the brand is me. And so I don't know if you want to touch on that with just like your own experiences as well.
Yeah. I Inspect 360, of course, is my baby. And it is an expression of me, not because I love inspections for the sense of what we do and the service that we give, and that moment of education and empowerment for our clients during a very, very stressful moment in that whole real estate transaction. If we've given them great information that they can have that confidence to move forward into their dream home or their dream investment, whatever it is, that's great. That's the educator side of me. I grew up, in a family of educators, and I love those teaching moments and get to share that. Beyond that, the actual, crawling under houses and in attics and those kinds of things that I did for years, it wasn't exactly my favorite thing to do. I liked it because number one, I'm not afraid of heights and I'm not afraid of dark spaces, but at the end of the day, there was other things about the business that I started to enjoy more. Mostly it was the relationships that I was building and connecting with people that inspired me. And so the evolution of Inspect 360, and of course with Real Producer, I still get to do that thing that I love to do, which is to connect with people and get to know and build relationships. And I love the real estate relationships and business relationships. I can relate to them. And so every day when I get to sit down with our partners and our top agents and hear their stories, before home inspections, I was an English and communications major and a flight attendant that was a writer. And so I loved the interaction. I loved the travel. I loved all the people that I was meeting, and I really wanted to learn to communicate that. So I look at, this just, again, kind of back, I feel like I'm more authentic about what I'm doing than ever. And my role in Real Producer and Inspect 360 are essentially the same. They're in alignment. It's just like it's peanut butter and jelly. And I've just, now here's the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Yeah. And so I feel like it's the two things that work together that allow me to express myself authentically, to take care of the people that I love, And particularly now with Real Producer, that expression to get to build relationships, and every day be inspired by the stories that we get to hear, the people that have put that together. Because my biggest struggle has always been, how do you manage success? First off, just, when I started a business, being surprised by success. I knew I had it in me, but I had not experienced it. And then suddenly, like, oh my gosh, now what do I do with it? And in real estate, I think there's a lot of people that are surprised by their success and they're in the same boat. And then they're trying to manage that with their families, because you start feeding that, and then you start living, in that place of that never ending and never attainable horizon in your business. And what are those things that you truly start feeling like, okay, this is, I'm being authentic. I'm here. I'm living in the moment. I'm living my best life, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love sitting down and hearing the stories. I'm inspired by our agents and our business partners. So this is just another tool of self-expression, just like Pubru,
Yeah.
allowing me to kind of stay connected to the guy that I want to be, and the guy that hopefully is treating people and taking care of the people around him well. So,
well, and you are just like a people person, a connector, someone who loves collaboration and just networking. Like that is like such your personality, and you're very genuine in that. And like, that's where you're in that industry right now. Like that's what you do. And like, that's where I think it's so important for people to identify, like, okay, what type of human am I? Cause you can express that if you're a server at a restaurant, or we all hear that story about the person who like works at a toll booth and he's like the happiest man ever. And he's singing songs, and like, cause he gets to talk to like so many different people all day and he loves it. And like, like, what brings you to life is different than everybody else on the planet. And we just need to discover that, lean into it, and try to live authentically within that, because if not, man, what are we doing?
Yeah. There's a story from when I was a flight attendant, and I loved this lady. And I knew whenever she was flying, because you'd walk through any airport in the country and you would see passengers with a little sticker, a little dot green sticker, or blue color, whatever. And on the airplane, she would go around and she would say hello to somebody, and she just would say, just wanted to touch you with, some love today, or something like that. And she put a little sticker. And by the end of the day, or 2 days later, I would be in Chicago, Boston, New York, LA, and I would see somebody with a sticker, and you just started seeing the effect of what she did, and really how it spread.
That's really cool.
It was so cool. It was scary. I mean, to think about that, because you, particularly now with COVID and everything else, you start thinking
touch as many people as you can.
Touched so many lives that day. And then people would, when they would see each other in the airport in another, part of the country, they would, it was so cool.
Yeah.
And when you find that way to be authentic and to connect with people, man, there's just a lot of beautiful life that you can experience. And I think that's it too. It's just, we're wanting to experience the best of life and be around people that inspire us, but that's not always the case, and we have our situations, our families, our friends, our struggles, and then just life and death that happens. And so the more we can be in the moment and be present and
totally.
Sip on a little poo brew and enjoy our time together, the better. Hey, I'd love to, Jordan, if you'd like. I know Lyndon is back there and has some stuff to contribute to this conversation, and I can't wait to hear
always does.
Oh, there he is.
Lennon, you got any thoughts back there, man? Come on in.
Always, I do, Jordan. First of all, congratulations on the new the business venture. I'm excited for you. Lance, you mentioned it, and it's not harsh, because if you're afraid of failing, entrepreneurship is going to be a brutal, brutal test of humanity for you. Because, one of the things that we've learned in doing the difference and talking to everybody is mindset comes first. I mean, here's the thing. We all have this vision of how great it's going to be. We don't take the time to think about all the challenges and things we're going to have to persevere through in order to find that success. Because, I'll tell you this, I started the difference 2.5 years ago. I have already failed over 20 times.
Right.
And people ask me, well, what are you talking about?
This week.
Just like you said, we're up to 750,000 listeners. How are you failing? Well, my vision of the difference has changed almost 20 different times because of what we're able to do for other people, where it's actually taking on a life of its own. And that goes back, Jordan, to what you were talking about, the authenticity. Um, when you look at these entrepreneurs, whether they're just starting out or whether they've been doing it a long time and they're all finding success, it's those that have the most important thing to them is how they impact someone else's life. It's not about money, because I'm going to tell you, as an entrepreneur, there's going to be times where money doesn't flow very well. It doesn't. And you got to determine whether you want to stick it out because you believe in yourself and you believe in the people that are around you and supporting you. But it's that impact. It's knowing that if I keep impacting the right people in the right way, everything will work out for the best. And that's where that authenticity comes. It's from the servant's heart. And, you know, it's just, for me, being a part of the difference and hearing y'all's conversations and the conversations that y'all have every week with the people that you bring on, some exceptional people. I mean, I can't stress that enough, that the people that are part of Real Producers are winners. They're winners, and they all have a commonality. Every one of them has a commonality, and it's just that servant's heart and that leadership approach and making an impact in such a positive way that's what's important to them. And so, you know, being able to listen to this and so many people over the years and watching those commonalities of what makes the difference. I know it sounds cheesy, but you know, that's why I created the show. Why are these guys doing so well? And these guys are working so hard, but not doing as well as them. What's the difference?
Well, I think
we all want it just as bad.
And that's something to point out too, is that like people can create success if you're not if you're not being authentic or you're not living within, like, you know, your flow. You can be successful, but there's definitely going to be a shelf life on that. Like, because, you know, you're going to be, after a year, 2 or 3, you're going to be so burnt out, like running in an inauthentic way, you know, redlining the entire time. Like, sure, people can power through success, like, and get there. But then there'll be the triumphant collapse, you know, that happens eventually. And I don't think any of us want short-term colossal rises of success. We would love to probably just stay there. I mean, I would, you know.
Well, I mean, you look at, when you talk like that, look at sports teams, Jordan. Look at how many of them reach the championship level, but they cannot maintain it.
Yeah.
Year after year after year, right? There's those certain teams, those dynasty teams, the Chicago Bulls when Jordan was there. Obviously, Alabama with what they do in football. I'm not sure they're going to do it this year, and I'm okay with that.
Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriots. I mean, it's such a challenge to stay focused and stay at the top. You know, I'm not going to say anybody can do it once in a while, but you see people do it every once in a while. I mean, how long has it been since the Cowboys have been relevant? You know, I moved here almost 30 years ago, and they were good then. So I'm saying probably about 27 years that one of the greatest teams, you know, organizations in sports has struggled to be the elite.
Yeah.
And it's the same for business. You know, it's sometimes easier to get there than it is to stay there.
Yeah. Love
Totally.
That.
Yeah.
100%. Hey, I wanted to bring up something because, you know, I think it's something that we can all relate to. But Jordan, I know we wanted to talk a little bit about our successful event, and it's so like us and like a lot of other entrepreneurs that we had a great successful event, a great way to kind of cap off a great year. We launched Tarrant Real Producer, had the biggest event of our lives. And then the next day or 2 days later, you started another company. We're talking about 2022 and our plans for the Real Producer community. We start talking about that next thing out there. and we're focused on the future, that again, that horizon, but that I'd love to kind of go back and because I think it's that moment we need to celebrate a little bit about where we have come in a year. And this is just a perfect time of year to do that. Linda and I were talking about that. I always get a little bit in that, like I said, a little bit of the turkey blues. It's looking at the horizon ahead and, looking back at the successes and failures and regrets and things that I'm proud of the year. This is that time that I do that. And then the sun gets a little low earlier, so you can kind of get into that bluesy mode. But I think it's really important to acknowledge the success of the year. And we had a heck of an event, didn't we?
Totally. I do want to point out, I do have to be off in 5 minutes.
Okay.
We can totally wrap this up in 5. But yeah, I do think it is important that we do talk about it because that was one for the record books, man. That was that was an event to remember. Lennon, I think you were sick, right? Or how come you?
I was under the weather, but trust me, fellas, I keep up with everything Real Producers does on Facebook. So it's almost like I was there, and I hate that I missed it. That was so cool.
It was pretty incredible, man. And like, what an honor for me to have my parents fly down. I've been here for 4 years. They hadn't been able to make it down for various reasons, COVID being one of them, since I've been here, and they were able to come and share in that moment. The original ESPYs, right? And it was just great to have them there. And we had 450 people at this event. It was very beautiful, like the lighting and the balloons, and like everyone was dressed up so nice, and like it was such an event that we talk about. For me, my very first event, when Lance, you were there for North DFW Real Producers over here at Concord Cabo at the Star, is the very first time Real Producers had an event. We probably had roughly 200 people there, and it was like the first time myself that I realized we had something. And but also, like, everyone that was there, that was kind of just like, wait, what is going on? Like, there was like top producers from all these different brokerages that were in a room, like connecting and collaborating and celebrating, and all these different businesses that are at the top of their game that were there too. And it was like, this doesn't happen. Like, what is going on? And it was one of those moments that it was so exciting for everybody because it was this new thing. It hadn't happened before. For me, it was like, one of the best moments of my life, at least professionally, hands down. And then, we fast forward 3 years to the ESPYs, and it was like that all over again, but like another level of, we had 450 people there, and it was, just an absolutely incredible event that I'll never forget. And now there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to be an annual thing that we do for sure.
Yeah. Well, I love that it was another expression of the community, right? It was the top agents and their peers who had nominated each other. And so there was this awards thing, people acknowledging the success and the support that even though they're competitors in this market, there was this celebration of that. And our partners who, I was blown away that when we announced this, how quickly we filled up our sponsorships. I've been an affiliate on the inspection side for every realtor association and everything that I have reluctantly given $1 to, because I did not feel like I was going to get my money back out of it, just to put my logo on something. People knew when they sponsored this event that it was going to be worth their while, worth their time to be in that room, because it's a different room and it's so relationship driven. It transcends Real Producers and organizations, but people want to be part of that community. And it really demonstrates the power of this community of like-minded professionals that want to be around each other and collaborate and are generous with their time and their energy. And it was just so much fun, man. The conversations in that room were incredible that night. It's really kind of a blur. I'm sure it was for you too.
Yeah, I blacked out for half of it. I didn't drink. I didn't black out that way, but I definitely, it was definitely a lot. Talk about like blues. You go from being at that level and then go, coming back down. We talked about that a little bit, but it was something that I love that we have so many photos and videos to whenever I want to go back and relish in that. So I can't wait for the next one, man. This was a fun podcast. I loved the topic. This is always something that is exciting to me, and I think there's a lot of people that I hope that they listen to this and they next time they get some inspiration, they act on it and let it be a outward expression of them. And so, this is fun. And thank you guys. This is a good time.
Yeah, good times. Lyndon, thank you so much. As
Well,
always.
thank y'all. I really appreciate working with you guys. Like I said, I never dreamed that I was going to have such a great job, to meet so many great and inspiring. I mean, I get inspired every day. It's hard for me to have a bad week because I'm on these shows and I'm hearing people and how they overcome their challenges. Jordan, you sharing and being just so transparent today about, how the struggles you've gone through with life. Lance, we talked about things, and it's just like, it's important that we are open and honest, because that is what inspires others. Our highlight reels is not what inspires others. It's our ability to fight through the adversity and come out on the other side, because we're all going through it. Every one of us is going through it. And I appreciate you guys for having a show that does just that. It brings on some of the best producing real estate agents and those people that support that industry, and they talk about their struggles, not just how they're winning.
Totally. Well, thank you for having the platform for us to share it, an additional platform for us to share. It's been fantastic. And so every week we are on here at 11 o'clock. I believe it is Rochelle next week, Lance the week after. And, we will be here like clockwork every time. So Lance, pleasure, my friend. Lyndon, thank you so much. For those of y'all listening, we appreciate you. Thanks for your support. And we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.